Hey guys, it's DuconRed1 and welcome to our official 1.12 Conquest update video. It has been a long time since Conquest has officially updated, and you guys have been waiting for this 1.12 update for a long time. And I am here to tell you it is finally here, and I am so excited to show you through these textures. I've been looking at them quite a bit while setting up for this video, and I think you guys will be about as amazed as I am about all the new things that we have. Not to mention what's over here. You guys are going to absolutely love this, and that's just the start of something great that's going to be happening with this pack. So without any further introduction, let's get right into this so this video doesn't become super long. So this right here, as you can see, I'm color coordinating everything, going from white all the way down to black, as is in your Minecraft menu. So starting off, we have a white bed, something that you could kind of see in more of a steampunk type of style. As you can see, it has the metal footboard and everything. A more or less modern type bed. Next, we have a pour type bed, as you can see, with the acacia frame, and then we have the hay on top, something you can imagine in an Indian tribe style. Next, we have something of a wood slat bed, possibly not even being used as a bed. You could use this possibly as a table, a bench, something to sit on. I imagine something to sit on would be the most usable or practical use for that, but I'm sure you guys will be creative with other things. Next, we have a coffin, something you can imagine in like a medieval church or something of that sort, crypts down below. So that's a great texture there. We have a wolfskin bed, a cot, more or less, a poorer style. Next, we have a fairy tale type bed, something that you would imagine in more of a fairy tale land where maybe there's what do you call those, druids, etc. There's something that you can imagine in that style. Next, we have something of an interesting style. It's a bit of a futuristic type of style bed, but at the same time, maybe it's Asian, Oriental, something along those lines. I think it looks great, and I think you guys will be able to use that to its full potential. Again, we have another pour type bed. I think it looks like a great texture you guys will be able to use in your builds. Next, we have a brown sheets bed. Again, a pour type bed, something that you wouldn't really see in a really high class area, maybe more for servants, etc. Next, we have a science fiction style bed. As you can see, we have all these like little lines, etc. Monsterfish is trying to encourage the breaking off from the very typical medieval style that that's been going on in the Conquest community of recent. So adding in a little bit of futuristic content and textures is going to really help with that breaking away. Next, we have a purple, very extravagant bed, something for a more royalty type setting, castles, palaces, etc. I can imagine that can be used in all manner of ways. Next, we have a hammock. You can probably put this between two trees and have a nice little hammock to lay on. For those of you that are wondering, that kind of looks like a weird bed, but yeah, just imagine that between two trees, maybe some ropes on either end. That'd be great. Next, we have something of an Aztec type of bed. We have like the very interesting carved wood surrounding as the frame, and then we have something of a fur blanket and a pillow there. Next, we have a somewhat richer bed, not much of a palace bed, maybe for like lower class, maybe the knights, maybe even in richer homes, etc. You can imagine that. Of course, the default bed, and then a burnt bed. I think that's a great addition to the pack. Really sets the tone for maybe some extra detail in your build. Maybe you have a burnt down house, and then now you have another detail you can add in to indicate that the place is burnt down. So that is all the beds that have been added into the pack. Next, we're going to be going into the concretes and the terracottas. So we're going to go from each color. We're going to show the color, the concrete, and then we're going to show the terracotta. All right, so first of all, we have the white concrete. We have something of like a brick texture, a white brick texture. It somewhat matches the diorite, so we can probably put this right next to diorite, and you could probably use that as a mixed texture there. Also, of course, with this natural diorite, etc. I'm sure with proper amount of experimentation, that could be implemented very nicely with other textures. Up here we have a somewhat science fiction type marbly, I guess, panel-y looking texture for the terracotta, the white glazed terracotta, and I think that turned out really nice. Again, Monsterfish is trying to encourage breaking off from the typical medieval style. This could also possibly be for palace floors, etc., but I kind of envision this more for a science fiction setting. Next, we have the orange concrete. Now we're going to go into the stone. We add in this sort of like this darker sandstone type texture. You can probably mix that in with cobble, etc. It looks really nice with hardened clay. If we go find hardened clay really quick somewhere in our menu, I think it's called terracotta. Yep, it's now called terracotta. That makes no sense, but hardened clay, the old hardened clay, goes very well with that texture, so you can use that in unison. Now, something that really doesn't make sense to me is this texture up here is somehow related to orange, but anyways, this up here is the orange glazed terracotta texture. It's turned into this like carpety thing. Now, terracottas are directionally placed. There's no connected texture, so you can place them directionally. So if you place them all the same way, it's going to look like that. But if you place them in certain directions, you can get a really neat pattern going on. So keep that in mind. Next, we have the Magenta concrete powder, and this is the concrete look to it. As you can see, a very bold red, burgundy, blood red. I don't know what color exactly that is, but yeah, a very royal red color. And then the terracotta for it is something very fancy. Not quite sure what it's could be used for. Application possibly is for flooring, floor tiling, possibly even walls for some style. I can't quite place it. Maybe a Roman, a classical style. I can kind of see that as a classical block. But yeah, that looks like a really neat texture. Looking forward to seeing how that is used. Next, we have the light blue, and we have, looks like a pillar texture there on the side. As you can see, a very nice block, something that you can definitely use for tile floors and for pillars inside your builds. I think that's going to really be a great addition to people's builds. And then, of course, we have this up here for the terracotta texture, which looks somewhat like a snowflake. Maybe for a wall texture, maybe for like an ice palace, or again, maybe even science fiction if used properly. That could possibly be a science fiction type block, so keep that in mind. Next, we have the yellow concrete powder, and we have the gold type of Renaissance type style block. It has just a really neat texture there on the top. This is more of a block that you would use to just add some color here and there. As a solid color across a build, it might look a little bit repetitive and annoying looking, but it's just supposed to be that little bit of color to add that perfect contrast to your build. So, well, I mean, depends on how you use it, but that's kind of the intended use. Well, really, Conquest doesn't have any intended uses, but whatever you want to do for it. But then up here, we have the yellow glazed terracotta. We have somewhat of a Indian type texture that you can use in all manner and sorts of ways to come up with something really cool. So again, super excited to see what you guys come up with. Next, we have the lime green concrete powder, and that turns into this wallpaper lime green. I can imagine this on the inside of like richer palaces, etc. There's so many applications to this. Super excited to see how people use that. And then up here we have a more artistic type wallpaper, something that you can imagine would be again a very rich palace. Looks like a Baratheon type wallpaper with the stag there on the walls, and of course the Conquest symbol adorning its features. So really like that. I think that's a beautiful texture, and I think will be a great addition to some people's builds. Here we have the pink concrete powder. Have a really weird looking texture. I can imagine this possibly for an Aztec Indian build, possibly for a flooring, things of that sort down there. I think that would definitely be a great addition to some people's builds. Up here we have maybe a classical texture. It has a very geometric pattern. I can kind of see this more of a classical type thing, maybe just like up along the top or something. Again, you can sort of like position it differently so that you can use the textures a little bit more accordingly, but I don't know how that could be used, but I'm sure that could be different applications. Now we have the gray concrete powder, and it turns into this gray concrete, which looks pretty much the same, just a little bit of a different color. I kind of see this as a pavement texture, something that you guys could use for maybe a modern type build, again, science fiction even. And then up here we have the it with lines, so maybe you could use it for like lines down your roads. Maybe you can use it in all different types of ways, just to maybe border along roads. I don't know, there's so many different applications. Super excited to see how that's used. Next we have the light gray concrete powder, and this is more of a normal concrete, so I'm guessing this could possibly even be the side of a building, like a really solid concrete building. But yeah, definitely looks like concrete, definitely looks like that texture is specifically designed for being concrete, but again, people can be creative with these textures. Up here we have the terracotta version of it, which is a somewhat organic looking block. I don't know exactly how this is going to be utilized in the pack, but if you guys come up with something neat, I would definitely be interested in seeing how you use this block in your build. Along with a lot of these blocks, I'm really interested to seeing how you guys use them. Next, we have the Cayenne concrete powder, which turns into this, which is, I don't know, maybe tiling, maybe just like a little bit of a accent block for certain tile floors. Again, could possibly be used as a pillar of sorts. Lots of applications, even for maybe science fiction or modern. Here we definitely have a science fiction texture, just like little power relays and lights and things, just to really make the colors just shine and just be really interesting. And I really like this texture. And again, guys, I would like to see some science fiction builds in Conquest. As Conquest advances, I'm sure we're going to be seeing a lot more science fiction related textures. Next, we have the purple concrete powder, which provides us with this somewhat red looking, what do you call this, drywall plaster for the inside of your builds. Maybe like this is like something of a it's like a painted wall that you guys can use. And then up here we have somewhat of a Lannister looking tile or wallpaper that you can use. Really nice texture. I love this to bits, and I cannot wait to actually use this on Conquest Reforged. For those of you that are wondering, everything that you are seeing now is going to be in Conquest Reforged eventually. The mod is Conquest Reforged, but this is vanilla Conquest for all of you that are wondering. But anyways, that's pretty obvious. Next, we have the blue concrete powder, which leads us to this texture, which is the blue concrete. Again, another wall, plastered wall type thing. And then we have this flowery looking wallpaper up here. It looks like palm leaves. If you look at it in different directions, like I kind of see a dragon. I kind of see that as a dragon, but or dragon head, but it's definitely not a dragon head. It's more supposed to be like a leaves and vines kind of deal. So something like more of a oasis type texture, I guess, for like Middle Eastern builds or such. Next, we have the brown concrete powder, which leads us to this more of a brown brick, which I'm sure can match pretty well with this texture down here. Which definitely can match very well with that texture, so I'd like to see how that can be utilized. And again, with the normal terracotta, the old hardened clay. And then the terracotta version of it is something of like an interlaced iron looking thing. I can see this in a dwarven setting. I think that looks like a really nice door, possibly, for a dwarven build, possibly. I don't know. Again, super interested in seeing how that will be utilized. This here is the green concrete powder, which is a pebbly, rocky looking, kind of like an Aztec, somewhat looking rock texture. This would be best mixed in with other mossy looking stones. So I'm sure like moss stone and also mossy stone brick. So I'm sure you could take those two blocks and then use this somehow in accordance with the other textures. Because Conquest is basically used or meant, all the textures are meant to be used in congruence to each other. So you're supposed to find other textures throughout the pack and put them together and make a palette or a gradient in your build. Next we have this thing. Don't know what it is. Looks like worms or snakes or something, but you can utilize this in a way like you can turn the textures and everything. So just kind of come up with something that looks interesting, I'm sure, but that looks great for something maybe. But yeah, so next we have the red concrete powder. This here turns into a Roman style brick that is a really thin slate type brick, and I think this is going to be a great addition to the pack. Then up here we have another type of tile floor, which I'm sure can also be utilized as, I guess you can't really turn that on the wall. Oh, you can turn that on the wall. Cool. Is there any way to set that going down? Oh, there is. Sweet. All right, there is a way to do that, turn around and everything, so it can be used as a wallpaper as well. So that's going to be a great addition. Now we have the black concrete powder, which turns into this hewn stone texture. Great looking block right there. That goes really well with this andesite block that we use for the kind of like the arena we're in right now, and also maybe polished andesite. We'll see. Anyways, great block there. And then we have like a nether block here, something that would go great with nether brick and such. I think that's a great addition right there. So now we're going to go back down this way, and we're going to look at some other additions to the pack. Now this is one of the things that just really is going to be interesting to you guys. So let's go ahead and clean out our inventory real quick. All right, guys, so check this out. So these are all named bows: heavy crossbow, medium crossbow, light crossbow, war bow, and short bow. So what you need to do is grab any bow, you need to put it into an anvil, and you need to take the bow, put it there, and then you need to rename it. So we're gonna call this a heavy crossbow. That gives you this right here, and then as you can see, it works beautifully. It looks exactly like it does in an item frame, and if you go out, which I'm wearing a special suit of armor as well if you didn't notice, but it also looks like it on the outside, except, it doesn't look like a crossbow, but it does look like a, the texture does change. So again, we'll go over these really quick. Heavy crossbow, medium crossbow, light crossbow, war bow, and short bow. So you can use an anvil, rename them, and you can get those textures. It might eventually change the stats of the weapons. I doubt that's going to work, but right now it looks just like it's just different looking bows, just to make it look more interesting. Just to, maybe, just makes the game more interesting. Next, we have new armors. As you can see, this is the leather armor hunt version. This is the chainmail crusader version, and then this is the orc iron armor version. So you need iron armor for the orc armor, you need chainmail armor for the crusader, and then you need leather armor for the hunter armor. So let's get that out of here. So as you can see, it also changes the item models, so you can use those really neat looking item models that were created for this. Just absolutely fantastic. Love it to bits. And then again, you do the same thing. You just take, we'll just do an example. Say we take a helmet. We go ahead and put that in there, and then you just, whatever you name it, it can have, you can just call it Crusader, and then you can put like whatever else with it. As long as the name has Crusader in it, it'll be exactly what you want it to be. And then that's how you make these armors here. So absolutely fantastic work there. So next we have supposedly 3D models of all these flowers and plants. I don't really notice any 3D models here, but I guess that looks a little bit more 3D. That does too somewhat. The ferns do. But yeah, apparently those are 3D, so added that in. The leaves are 3D, of course. And then, so supposedly these are 3D models as well. the mushrooms. So then we have apparently a updated version of pack dice. The reason why I'm saying apparently and such because I don't know, but it says it on the changelog, so that's all I know. Apparently there is a connected texture added for the what do you call it? The natural diorite. This has been changed somewhat for something, and then we have the this is a new texture that's been added in. It now has this pillar texture, so if you add redstone blocks on top of each other, it makes this pillar looking thing, which I think could look really nice in certain settings. So that's cool. Also, the next thing is barrier blocks. The texture has been changed to be more Conquest. The Conquest symbol is all over the place in there. I think it looks great. Great texture there. Really, really fantastic. So we're going to move on now to the last section, which is the Specimen Chamber. This here is where I'm trying to utilize some of the science fiction type textures here in the pack to make a somewhat looking science fiction type of environment. And then we have each of the new parrot textures in here. I'm sure you guys are pretty interested in the new parrot textures, but we have a colorful looking parrot. We have a hawk. Imagine that in some medieval builds. Absolutely fantastic textures. Let's go ahead and get some close-ups of these. I don't want them looking at me though. But yeah, that's the hawk. That right there is the parrot that's looking directly at me. Over here we have a wyvern. Absolutely fantastic texture there. Check that out, guys. Isn't that just awesome? Man, Monsterfish is a pro. Then we have that blue, it looks like a blue macaw of sorts. Looks really nice there. And then the last one is a very colorful red, yellow, blue, green parrot that I just think looks absolutely fantastic. So here's just a little bit of the utilization of the new blocks and things. But yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. 1.12 is finally out. All of this will be in the Conquest Reforged mod eventually. The update is coming soon. For those of you that are watching this way late, it is already probably in the pack. So, but one way or another, guys, I thank you so much for watching this video. And if you guys like what you see, please go support Monsterfish. He definitely appreciates any monetary support that you guys can provide him. You can find the link to his Planet Minecraft down in the description below. Also, you can donate to him, all sorts of things down there. So if you guys really like this work, really like all that you are seeing, go give that man some support and make sure that he feels love from the community. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. This is Ducon Red 1. Hope you guys have a great day or night wherever you're from. Don't forget to hit that like button, comment down below, and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys on the next Minecraft video. Till then, bye-bye.